All right. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. We are live on Facebook. I am also going to go live on my podcast show. As I had said earlier or late last week, we're going to be bringing on some New Mexicans live on New Mexico. We're going to bring them on live because, the governor's been hiding everybody. The governor comes on every week. We know what our lockdowns are right now in New Mexico and in other states, and they're very extreme. This governor does not seem to be or cares to take people serious in New Mexico. She doesn't face the people like politicians should do. She doesn't take questions from her constituents. Every week in, week out, she is taking questions from the same people that are either with the media or, of her choice. So we decided on New Mexico that we are going to take the voices of the people to her. And we do have our live audience with us, so you will see the comments come through from our live viewers. So first and foremost, I want to welcome Christy. She is our first guest here. And, we are just going to use and open up the lines and just allow her to give your comments. Christy, you can say how these lockdowns have been affecting you, how they have affected your families, and those around you, your friends. And, if there's anything and just anything that you want, any comments, questions that you want to share with this governor and with your fellow New Mexicans, that's what we are opening up the floor for you.
Well,
welcome,
Thank
Christy.
You're
so welcome, hon. Now, first, and just let everybody know exactly what lockdowns have done.
My name's Christy Ledesma. I've lived in New Mexico my whole life, 47 years. I have 4 kids. 2 of them are currently enrolled in the Farmington Municipal Schools. Of course, they're not able to go to school, so they're stuck at home in front of a laptop. I understand the pandemic, like in the spring of 2020, and sending the kids home, but 9 months later, and we have a better understanding of the COVID-19 virus.
Yes.
All of our kids are still being forced to stay at home. The studies have found that schools are not super spreaders. They're not. There's private schools, there's daycares that are open with there's been no reported outbreaks or closings because of that.
And we're learning this more and more. We are really understanding that the science doesn't make sense, right?
It doesn't. There's no sense behind it, whatever. The governor is wants to keep us in fear. And it's affecting everybody, but there's social, emotional, and academic benefits that children get with school learning, with other peers. The problem is politics with their selfish agendas is what's keeping our children locked at home.
Yeah.
And how dare these adults make innocent children suffer for a virus that has a 99% recovery rate.
Right.
Unions the New Mexico teachers unions are aligned with the Democratic Party and candidates. And the teachers unions in New Mexico were actually the major contributors to Grisham's campaign in 2018. So when people want to say that, the kids not going to school, it's for their safety, that's not true. It is political. It is.
And there's and what are, how are your children sharing with you? I know listening to my daughters with my grandkids, I get calls from them all the time because they're trying to work from home. Some of them have to work from home because New Mexico is shut down, businesses are shut down. And so even though she has an office job, they forced her to work at home. So she's trying to keep up with her deadlines with work as well as be a full-time teacher. Right. And it's really affecting, everybody inside of the household, because how can my daughter meet deadlines and then as well as force her children to meet school deadlines? And, I get calls all the time and just frustration and tears because it's been really tough.
It is. And my husband and I both have to work outside of the home, we don't have the option to stay home, to be here with our kids. And a lot of parents don't. And some of those children are too young to be left alone in front of a screen.
Yep, I agree.
My son is, experiencing severe migraines because of all the screen time.
Oh no.
Really hurting his eyes. My daughter, she wants to go to school. She's depressed. She wants to be around her friends. They need it. They need to be around their peers. And I just can't believe this is 9 months later and they're still sitting at home. They're not learning.
Right now, they're through the APS, up here in the APS district. I know they're going through different meetings right now to decide whether they're going to continue the school year. And like she was saying, our kids need to be back in school. I mean, that interaction is very needed. Yeah. And a lot of our kids are in sports. That has been taken away. Things that give kids outlets and allows them to be kids. They can't do that stuff just on TV, and on the just doing it over online. Yeah. And the teachers, many of the teachers who don't want to do this online stuff, they see that they can't keep these kids entertained. There's just no way to have them interacting with them. A lot of the kids are just, they basically put it on because they know they have to be there, but they're not even, interacting with the teachers. The teachers teaching, and they're just sending a big old thick amount of worksheets just to, send them home as busy work. Yeah. And these kids that have special needs, they're the ones that are hurting the worst. They need the interaction. My sister, she works up north, and she works with all these special need kids, and it's hard because you have these kids that have Asperger's, that have different problems. All of them have different problems, and they can't be in front of a screen. A screen is not going to help them. In fact, like she was saying, the screen hurts their eyes. They have different things that affect them differently than your normal day kid, and it's just affecting them even worse. I have a friend up here in Rio Rancho that her daughter is pulling her hair out. I mean, literally yanking out her hair. And it's just disgusting.
It is. And Christy, and is there anything else that you want to share as far as, we know that it's hard on the children and we know it's hard on the parents, but what else is day-to-day life like for your family and those that you love, just living in a state that is, shuts down, opens up a little bit, shuts back down, and, taking away businesses. You can't go eat at a restaurant. You can't shop freely. You have to worry about mask training, even though, you don't, you feel that you don't want to wear it. It's your right. So how else has that affected you?
Well, I can talk a little bit about my husband's job and what the governor has done with the oil field. And, the oil field is being pushed out. The company that he's worked for years, I mean, there's been major layoffs. And so we go month to month, not knowing if he's going to have a job, if we're going to have to leave New Mexico because she has pushed all of that out. And that's a scary, I mean, he is, the breadwinner for our family, and we would have to up and leave New Mexico. I don't want to have to leave. It's my home state. I love it. I love the people. The only thing is just the governor. She just, I don't know. So, but yeah, my kids are struggling in school. We don't know month to month if my husband will have a job. It's depressing. The long lines. You should see the lines in Farmington if you want to go to the store on a Saturday. Even though they've lifted the 75-person restriction to 25% capacity, there's still lines wrapped around our grocery stores. Old people standing out in the cold. A lot of old people don't have the ability they don't have smartphones. They can't do an Instacart or order online and have it picked up. They don't know how to do that. Some of them don't have family to do that for them. And it breaks my heart.
That's hard.
And these people standing like in bread lines is pretty much what I call them.
It's ridiculous. And there are a lot of people that even follow that when I shared, because my daughter, was FaceTiming me live while she was waiting at the store. And it made me so angry. It was so cold. It was 35 degrees outside and it was nighttime, and she had just worked 9 hours to have to go stand in line so that she can get some food to feed my grandson. She stood in line in 35 degrees for an hour in our teacher. That's
for shopping that would
ridiculous.
probably take her 15 minutes
Yeah,
to go in and out.
15 minutes.
In and out. But
In
people
and out.
standing together in lines
Yes.
in the cold. It makes no sense. It makes no
And is there
sense.
any comments and questions that you have for this governor?
I apologize. I didn't hear you, Melinda.
Oh, no worries, Hannah. I said, are there any comments and questions that you want to say to this governor?
Well, there's so many questions. Suicides. How many suicides has happened in 2020 with children, with, parents
Adults
that can't provide for their families, that have been laid off, cannot find work. She hasn't addressed anything on suicides at all during this pandemic, not one time. And I don't know.
No, she did one time, but just to clarify, she did very briefly, and she did once. But she said that what their studies showed was that it had everything to do with children being bullied.
Oh yeah,
and
I do
so,
remember watching that.
That they were bullied, but I don't understand how children are bullied when they're not in school.
Right.
So she wanted everybody to know that the suicides, via their investigation and what they found and concluded, was that these children were being bullied.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
But they
that's
know
not
how untrue that is, because we've had heart-to-heart talks with these parents, and their children got depressed. They spoke about not being in school. They spoke about not, fearing that they won't have a future anymore because they can't be with their friends. So these parents know their children better than anybody. They weren't being bullied. The only one that they were being bullied by was this governor.
Yes.
And
there's absolutely a link between even being outside in the sun towards suicide. These kids are on the, if you think about it, from the time they wake up, I don't know, ours starts at 8:45, they end about 11:30, and they get one little break, and then they're back on, so you figure they're inside the home in front of a TV without being in sunlight. And all of that leads to depression. Just the whole mechanisms of how this thing works that they thought was going to work to keep our kids safe is actually making our kids even more prone to suicide, more prone to cyberbullying, more prone to just being isolated in a way where they're not able to get help. And most programs are closed down too. You don't have your counselors. You don't have different people that can actually, help these kids while they're at school. They have things that they can go, they have somewhere to go.
So we know she's lying. She's just making stuff up.
Well, parents are stressed. It's bringing up stress levels on everybody. You have stressed parents, you have stressed kids, you have stressed teachers. I mean, you go to the stores now, and anywhere you go, just to go and do some shopping or whatever else, and people are stressed and hateful. I mean, you go to a restaurant with the outside dining, and you're very lucky if you even get somebody that's really nice to you, because customer service has gone down. Everybody is just so stressed. The mass, everything is just frustrating. And like she said, people don't even know if they're going to have a job in the following week, or they're going to be closed down, or it's just awful. It's just the unknown is really hurting people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christy.
And in being in such a rural area as well. I mean, New Mexico is very rural. It can't be assumed that every child has internet, or a child needs to walk to a hot spot to get internet. I wouldn't allow my kids to walk and sit outside of a school with no adult supervision. There's abductions, there's crazy people. That's expected too of our children. I don't know.
Well, in Albuquerque alone, they said that there's a lot of students that are not they didn't enroll this year. So
they're not even involved.
They're not doing any of this in schooling, and it's really hard to pinpoint where they're at or what they're doing. But I don't know. It's just an overall sad thing, you know,
It is.
and the sad thing is our kids are suffering really bad, you know, along
Kids
with
are
everybody else.
suffering.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, Christy, we wanna thank you. We've got some other folks on
Thank
here
you,
with us,
ladies.
and we're gonna get this out there. We've got so many more people that are gonna come on, and they're gonna express their frustrations and concerns
Mhm.
just like you are, and we're gonna make sure that your voices are heard.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
and
thank you, ladies, so much for everything you do. We
you are
we,
I
we
so
see.
really
God
welcome.
bless
appreciate
you.
you.
God
God
bless you.
bless you, hon.
Okay.
And, so just everybody keep, Christy and her family in prayers like we do for everybody, every other New Mexican. And, I'm going to bring on a couple of other guests that we have
All
here with
right.
us. And
Right.
thank you, Christy, for being a
Okay.
part of this.
All right.
And God bless you. Okay,
God bless you,
sweetheart?
ladies.
Thank
Bye.
And
you.
one thing I was gonna just add real quick before Christy gets off is, get a little group together with like-minded moms and people, and do group things. That's what we've been trying to do up here in Rio Rancho. I don't know
Yeah.
what area you're from, and get together, and just, we don't have to abide by all this. There's a lot of stuff that we have control of,
Mhm.
and we are forced through the public school system on how they're going to handle stuff, but try to counter that with what you can do on your own, and like I said, that's what we've been doing with our kids, because they do need to interact with others.
They do.
So
Absolutely.
anyway, God bless you.
All
I'm
right.
so sorry I got in
Bye-bye.
here late, but it was
You're
nice to speak
fine.
to you.
Bye, sweetheart. Thank you, Christy.
Bye.
All right, we do have Richard with us. We're going to bring Richard on. All right, there he is. Hi, Richard. You are on live with Audrey and I on
Hey
New Mexico.
guys,
Hi, Richard.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. I was having some problems with the mic and I had to restart it. So I was,
Oh, no worries. We can hear you. Thank you for being
okay.
on with us today and taking the time out to, use your voice to be a part of this fight with us in New Mexico. And so we want you to go ahead and share what has happened in your world, in your life, in your family, and
So,
how these lockdowns have affected you.
I want to start off first by saying that anybody who holds a public office is going to be scrutinized. And I
Absolutely.
totally understand that. Being a soldier and retiring from the military, being a leader in leadership positions and in combat and not in combat, I understand that there's going to be a direct line of criticism no matter what when you're in a leadership position. I totally understand that. The problem that I have with the governor, though, is that the governor has not once been transparent. The governor has, on many occasions, do as I say, not as I do mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And she has not once, in any of her come out on Thursday afternoon scoldings, has she ever sat down or opened up a forum to talk to unscripted individuals about what the lockdown is doing to people. Now, she's done it to scripted questions and to a select number of people, maybe. And those questions and what was going to be discussed was always scripted in her favor. So she had an idea of what was going to be asked. Not once has there ever been a public forum for us to interact with the governor on a large scale as to what is happening here in New Mexico. I, for one, I'm retired. I've been blessed to not have suffered as a whole family wise, like some families have. But I have watched my elderly parents suffer because they can't do things. They're basically, they don't live in fear, but I have watched their attitudes towards life and how people look at them because they stand up. They don't want to wear the mask. They know what's going on, right? And so my parents have had family members not want to be around them, have not wanted to go over to their house and interact with them. I have two boys. One's a teenager. And one's about to be a teenager. And I have seen them go from outgoing, fun, happy boys to boys that are constantly fighting with us, boys that are argumentative, boys that don't want to ever come out of their room. They don't ever want to interact with the family. They'd much rather just close their door and be hermits. I have one boy that was a football enthusiast who, man, the kid trained on his off time to be better athlete. And now he doesn't even want to have nothing to do with football at all. He doesn't train anymore. He doesn't want to do anything because he is, he's discouraged. He's depressed. Both the boys are depressed. And that's a scary thing, I think, for parents. My criticism of the governor comes from a different side of politics, in that this, not just in the state, but as a whole, this pandemic has caused such a knee-jerk reaction in everybody out of fear, and the media, and what their directive is. Right now, we have seen, whether you're a Christian, whether you go to church, or whether you haven't, we have seen the good turn to be bad in people's eyes, and the bad turn to be good. The governor has perpetrated turning fear into a virtue. Now, if you are not fearful, something is wrong with you. If you are not fearful, then you are causing others harm by not being fearful and adhering to, her draconian, tyrannical orders. I know this is gonna get broadcasted, but I'm a grown ass man. I'm gonna be 50 years old. I don't need a woman in Santa Fe who doesn't know anything about my life, doesn't know what I've done, where I've been, what I've seen, tell me how to live my life and raise my children. And it's gotten to the point where it's, there's so many people that are okay with that. And I always tell people all the time, if you've gone to the countries that I've gone to, and you've seen the oppression that I've seen, and you've seen how dictators actually work. I'll give you a prime example. Saddam Hussein could control 6 million people in a city by showing them a handgun. The reason why is because he would execute people on TV in Iraq with a handgun. Now, the point for this is that when we were there in Iraq, if we were trying to control the populace, we had tanks and we had machine guns and we had all these big weapons, rifles. They wouldn't do what we asked until I pulled out my 9mm pistol and put it in their face. Then they would do whatever I wanted. That 9mm showed so much fear to them. Compliance was 100% all the time. And that's exactly what the mask is representing. That's exactly what the mask has done to this state. That mask is compliance. And people need to understand that our civil liberties, our constitutional rights, our God-given rights have been stripped one by one in the name of fear and safety. And the biggest issue we have here is that governor doesn't live paycheck to paycheck. That governor doesn't worry about whether she's going to pay her light bill or feed her 2 boys. That governor doesn't worry if they're going to get the medication for themselves this month, or if they're just going to go without their medication. That governor has been collecting $14,000+ a month in salary since this started by not even having to go to work. People just want to work. People want to get out and live their lives and work. And we are having someone tell us that we cannot work based upon false information. Since day one of the coronavirus, I come from a medical background.
Mm-hmm.
I was almost a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Don't say that like so surprisingly.
No, that's awesome, though. No, that's really awesome.
So I understand medicine. I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't understand it the way they do, but I do understand medicine and how the body works. And since day one, we have been given all the fear and none of the good. Nobody has been told to go out and get vitamin D out in the sunlight, that it helps your body stay healthy. Nobody's told eat healthier. Nobody's told you to eat better foods, to make better choices, to get away from alcohol, to go to the gym, to exercise, to go outside, to walk, to do all these healthy things. We've been told stay in, order out, get home delivery, do what's easy, do what's fearful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our natural immunity and the way our body works is that we have to be exposed to things in order for our body to build up immunities to fight it off in the future. And unless we do that, we are prone to be sick all the time. The boy in the bubble syndrome. I have a nephew that grew up that couldn't put dirt in his mouth or get his hands dirty or couldn't do boy stuff because his mom was fearful of him getting sick all the time. She was a first-time mom. And my nephew was sick every month. Every 2 weeks he was sick. He grew up sick. You can't. On the other side of that, being in the military, I've been to every single nasty place in the entire world, right? I've been exposed to toxic things, to vaccinations, to treatments, to all this stuff. I am not in the best of health. I refuse to wear a mask, but I haven't been sick. I probably got sick in January of this year, February, for a month. Doing a disservice to us, to the constituents, by perpetrating fear and hate against each other. She is the center of what's happening for the division in this state and in this country. She's exactly the reason why the country is so divided, because she is placing fear in people's hearts and minds.
Right.
And if you aren't in line with her fear tactics, then something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, it again, the churches, Legacy and Calvary, right? That just got fined. No person in leadership should ever place and put two sides against each other. Never. That's not their job. Their job is to uphold the Constitution of the states in the United States and fight for the people under those constitutional rights. The problem that we have everywhere politically is that it has turned into a self-interest group. It's no longer a government. It is now a self-interest group. And unless that self-interest is fed, it will continue to eat at people that don't feed the self-interest. And that's what's happening to us right now, is that we're getting eaten alive because we don't fall in line with that self-interest from the governor's office.
Right.
And the only way for us to do something about it is, fearful, because people don't like to hear the word and hear the term. But it is going to take another physical revolution in order to change this country, this state. It's going to take a physical revolution. And the problem is that people aren't okay with that level of violence.
No.
People are not okay with it. They want to live in their bubble and they want to say, you know what? We need to fight. We need to do this. We need to stand up for our rights. Okay, I need you to go to Santa Fe. I need you to kick down the door. I'm not sure that's what we're talking about. I mean, let's talk to these people. It's obvious that we cannot talk to the politicians. It's obviously, it's 100% apparent that we cannot do this in the nicest way any longer. We cannot sit down and say, have a one-on-one with the governor and say, look, your constituents feel a different way than what you're putting out there. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in order for us to change not just this state, again, the United States, is it's going to have to get to that physical level of revolution. And I think that scares people. People would rather be comfortable than uncomfortable.
Now, and you know what, and it's so true, and you hear it across the country, I mean, across the state. And there are so many people that don't want to, but there are a lot that are ready for that route. They are so ready for that route, and they know it's coming. And, and they're preparing for it. Men and women.
Here's one thing that I've learned in this whole lockdown. There's a couple of things, but the most things that I've learned is how easily people are controlled by fear.
Yes.
Number one. How easily people are controlled by media and social media is number two. And number three is how many people have no clue about the political process whatsoever and think that the problems that we're having in our country stem from the president of the United States. They actually stem from the people we vote into our city council, to our local congressmen and congresswomen. That's where the problem starts, because nobody pays attention to them, because nobody calls them out on their stuff. Because again, like any level of politics, it's all become self-interest. If I tell you, Melinda, I'm going to give you $10 million if you open a Walmart on my corner, more than likely, if you're struggling in your political campaign, you're going to open that Walmart, and you're going to figure out a way to do it that's legal,
right,
but not moral. And the problem is that we don't have no moral politicians. We have no moral politicians, and I have yet to find one that's going to argue that against me.
Well, and we've really opened up our eyes. Audrey and I talk about this all the time. This president has allowed and has empowered the people to really open their eyes to the corruption that he knows. He's shared how long it's existed, right? It's existed for decades. Right. So he's telling the people, look, I'm one of the good guys. I'm one of the elites. I'm one of them. That because nobody wanted to stop them. Nobody wanted to put themselves out there that would, the way I have, either because they're a part of it or they don't want the backlash that we're watching go down right now in our country. Everything that we're watching has been purposely manipulated into our lives by these, corrupt politicians that have had power for how long? I mean, Audrey and I were just talking yesterday. Nancy Pelosi got back in again.
Right.
We don't want Nancy Pelosi. How did she get back
in there? But why is she in there? And why are these people? I think one of the biggest questions that we need to ask ourselves is, why are these people still in office, even though we know how corrupt they are? Why is it that we continually see the same people in office all the time? And I really struggled with trying to figure that out this election and this whole process of what was going on. And the whole reason I think that we still have these people in there is because of the media. Right? And I don't think there's a bigger injustice to humanity than social media and mainstream media. All right? Media is controlled by 6 very wealthy people. And people don't understand that. 6 wealthy companies own every single thing that you watch on TV.
Right.
And I don't, the worst part about it is that people will not do their own research to understand that. Again, it's easier to just go with the status quo. We've always done that. It's always been done this way. Why would we change? Well, there's a reason that New Mexico is last in everything good and first in everything bad.
Yeah, that didn't happen by accident. And there's a lot of people that, and even including my own stepdad, who tells me you can't blame the governor for people being stupid and wanting to do drugs and killing somebody. It's not just the governor. People have to get educated on this state, laws and how she is using her power and her authority to abuse people's constitutional rights and their civil liberties.
I think it's more than anything, Melinda, it's a moral issue. It's a moral issue. It is we are morally corrupt as a society.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it. If you look in your own lives, if you look at somebody that's close to you, the things that are allowed to go and slide under the radar because really, does it affect anybody?
Yeah.
Right? And that's the reason we're in the mess that we're in right now, is because we have allowed our youth and the younger generation to get away with a lot of things that we're like, you know what? My parents did that to me. I'm not going to raise them the same way. And we did them a disservice. And now
Right.
we're reaping all of that because we allowed that to happen at some level, right? We allowed them to tell a white lie. We allowed them to go to a questionable person party. We allowed them to grow up a certain way because we don't want to shelter them.
Right.
Well, it's gotten to the point now that all those layers of those things just morally being covered up, we now have and live in a system where politicians think, you know what? The South Valley does need help. But the people in the La Cueva district, they put a lot of money into my campaign. I think I'm going to concentrate up there.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so now we live there, and that happens at the city council level. Look at our city councilors, right? We have city councilors that are morally unjust, right? And they will continue to be that way because people allow it. People will allow it and not call them out on it.
Right.
And until the people come together to understand that those politicians work for you and I, and we start holding them accountable by not voting them into office for 5 or 6 terms, by not letting them do whatever they want, by attending city council meetings, by attending, as far as down as, APS board meetings.
And some of them she shuts off to the public, which
right. If we don't start influencing those and making our voice heard there, it really doesn't matter, once you get out of there. We need politicians to be fearful of us.
Right. That's right.
That's what we need. That's where the change needs to happen. The politicians need to say, if I don't do my job, these people are going to get rid of me. Right now, the politicians say, these people don't care whether I do my job or not. I'm just going to stay here forever because they're too stupid to vote me out.
So sad. And it's literally where we are at. It literally is the truth. Now, as we're coming to a close on the time, is there, anything any questions, any comments that you want to make to this governor?
I would like 100% Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. I hope you're watching this. I hope your staff sees this. I hope you pay attention, because I am a person that has already signed a blank check to give my life for the Constitution of this United States. I am not afraid of you, but I am asking you to sit down in front of me and have an open discussion on TV.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. Let's see. And we know she's listening. Audrey and I.
She listens.
She's listening. She's hearing us. So we're going to get this out there. Okay, Richard? And we're going to share this. And if you have anybody, any friends, any family, anybody that wants to come on with Audrey and I, please send them our way, because the more of these messages that we get out there and we have circulating around, she's going to have no choice but to listen. And we know she's listening. Yeah. We know she is, because Audrey and I get attacked by, people on her side daily. And so, we know they're following us. We know they are listening. So we just wanted to make sure that we got your voices out.
And I got one more thing to say before I'm done, and then I'll shut up. Yeah. To all the trollers who are listening out there, if your counter comments to what I'm saying or anybody else on this is saying is to attack us, then shut up and move out of the way, because you're unproductive. I'm coming to the table with solutions to the problems. If you're coming to the table with just negativity and to badmouth me, you mean nothing to me, and you need to step aside. And I'm sure the people on here feel the exact same way. So if you're going to come to me, trollers, and you're going to talk to me, then we're going to have an open discussion like mature adults about policies, not personal attacks. And if you can't do that, then you need to step aside.
And I wish we could leave it on policy. Go ahead, babe.
Can I have one thing to say before he leaves? The one thing that I think we all need to understand is, as long as we have dominion, as long as we have voter fraud, as long as they keep cheating, the Democrats are going to continue to keep their votes in there, and they're going to keep their people in there. And that's one of the biggest things that, you know, they need to clean up. They need to clean up the dead people off the lists. They got to find out if these people are actually, you know, from here and can vote from here. I mean, we have people that were voting that don't even live here.
Yeah.
And those are the problems that we're going to face, and we're going to continue to have the same, you know, corrupt politicians. I call them career politicians because it's, you know, basically there's the same families, the same connections that continue in New Mexico. And this isn't only happening in New Mexico.
No,
It is
no.
also happening across
I mean,
the
it's
nation.
California.
In every
Michigan.
blue state.
You know, New York. I mean,
New
it's
York.
coming to the point. I mean, it's coming to the point now that this is not, and we're understanding this is not coming from the Democrat. This is not about Democrat or Republican, right? If we're going to move forward in our country into the future for our children,
That's right.
it is a fight for the Republic and the Constitution of the United States.
Absolutely.
There is nothing else that matters at this point in time. That's what it is.
We are a constitutional Democrat republic.
Mhm.
We vote in our people, but we have to abide by the Constitution
That's
in those positions. And these, like we had talked about, they've become celebrities. They're not representatives. They're
No.
celebrities. They believe that they are above us. They're our leaders. They're tyrannical. You know, that's what we got right now in office in our governorship. And we got to basically slap her off her podium because it's not going to work.
And just like Audrey said, that's why I've been telling everybody that I can talk to, start calling them the civil servants that they are.
Yeah.
Start calling them civil servants, because you know what? The moment that they realize that they are merely a civil servant to the people, then the less, you know, then that's how you knock them off their own pedestal. That's how you take them down. Like, you are beneath me.
Yeah.
You are a civil servant. You're not even here with me. You're not,
Well,
and you're especially not
call
here
them
with me.
leaders at all.
Right.
We do not call them leaders. They're representing us.
They're
They're
representatives.
voted in. You know,
There
they're
should
not
only
just,
be one leader in your household. One.
That's right. That's God.
And that's God, period. That's it.
absolutely.
Right?
Oh,
And
that's right.
you'll probably get trollers that go against it. But there's God's your leader. And then it falls to the husband, and then the wife, and then the children. And in that order. And that's not
Right.
that's not my law. That's God's law.
That's God's
We've
law.
gone away from that.
We have.
We've gone away from that.
But Richard, you know, thank you so much, amigo, for coming on and sharing your voice, because, you know, and again, anybody that you know, families and friends that want to come on and do the same, please send them our way, send them to myself and to Audrey, and so we can get them scheduled and come on with us, because it's very important that we get everybody out there. And not only that, people who support her are listening too.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not just your way just because she's the governor that you support.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not just about you. It's not just about the governor. The governor needs to understand what balance of government is. And she has no clue about what she's doing. She's got an agenda, and it's selfish.
Right.
And that's it. So God bless you. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
We have one more guest coming on, so hang tight with us, Richard, and just let us know. Be in touch. God bless you. Okay,
Same
people?
to you guys.
And
Take care.
try
Have
to
a good
make
day.
it to Santa Fe, okay? Try to make it to Santa Fe. We have people standing up for our Constitution, for our rights, and against this governor up in Santa Fe this week.
Okay.
The 6th is a supportive day for our president, and we need to show that, you know, there's more of us than there is of them.
No, shoot me a message
Okay.
privately, and
God
we'll
bless
talk.
you. Absolutely.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so we've got one more guest. We have others coming on too, guys, so hang tight with us. There's going to be another one this afternoon, and then some more tomorrow. So this is Facebook. For whatever reason, they're saying that they're having a hard time. So here we go. We want to welcome, we have Amber with us. Amber, hi, thank you, hon. And so thank you for coming on. We know that you live in northern New Mexico, and you came on with us today because you want to share how this lockdown has really affected you, your family, those around you, those you love. And you know, be a voice for your community and things as such. So I'm going to give it open to you and let you speak on, you know, what's really been bothering you throughout this past year, these lockdowns.
Okay. Well, I'm from Las Vegas, New Mexico. I'm 34 years old. I have two beautiful sons. I'm married to my husband. We've been married for 13 years, together 15 years. And before this virus, whatever, COVID, Corona, whatever you want to call it, I was a substitute teacher and a dance teacher. And, school's not in session, so that got halted. And my husband and I, we decided to homeschool our boys. He's the breadwinner, he's working, so I'm staying home and doing that. And, our kids, there's nothing to do in our small town to begin with. And with
That's
this
how it is in our
lockdown,
teacher.
I know, and no movie theaters, nothing for them to do, no sports. I'm going to echo what everyone else is saying. It's really hard, and I know a lot of kids that I taught, that I know personally. School was their safe haven. That's where they got their meals. That's where they just felt safe, and I worry about them. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about that. And here in our town, more recently, I know someone that ran away from home, sounds safe and sound. But these are things that are affecting our children, and especially they're going into gangs. They're following the wrong people. The list goes on and on and on with all of this, and it's very sad, and I'm not sure what our government can do at this point. They have already enticed fear. Now all we hear about is COVID-19. Wear your mask, stay safe. Nothing about our kids and drug use, our kids with suicide. What else? The list goes on and on. And since I decided to homeschool my children, I got one of these nice letters, I don't know if you can see it, cover this. It's from Utah. My kids weren't enrolled in school, but yes, they have student IDs. They have all their info. They've been being taught with programs that I've signed them up for. When I talked to the gentleman, he stated that our state, the Department of Education, and our local district or school districts, they're not even communicating. So they don't even know who's enrolled in school and who isn't, or who's being homeschooled and who isn't.
That is so sad.
And I can't even get a hold of anybody up there in Santa Fe just to let them know, yeah, my kids are being homeschooled, But they have that information. It's already in a system. So I have no idea. And I'm not the only one. I know parents, the sad part of it is that there's a family that got their child committed suicide, and they got one of these letters. How can they tally up numbers for COVID-19 if they can't even get this stuff straight? That's just one issue.
Right.
And let's see here. What else? In my town, particularly, I'd say last night, our town sign, it got from a gang, who knows if it's just punks doing something, they have nothing to do but just roam around and cause a ruckus. That's how I see things.
Right. And
I'm not sure if it's happening in other towns here in New Mexico, and what else is happening. Like, what about you, Audrey, in Rio Rancho? Is this happening there? Do you see anything like that with your youth?
Absolutely. I think what's happening is they're not in school. They're not on a schedule. Kids need direction. They need schedules. They need to have something to look forward to. And this is giving them so much time on their hands, where they're looking, they're probably out there, hanging out, doing stuff and not going to school, like I was telling Melinda just a while ago, a lot of our kids, they're enlisted by name only. They're not even going to classes. And there's no way for the teachers or even the school to make them, the parents have to work, especially now, because, if you don't have parents that if both parents have to work, they have to work. And guess what? They don't have money to pay for somebody to watch or be there with their children all day.
Right.
So I know I have two boys, a 17-year-old and an 8-year-old. My 18-year-old's going to be graduating this year, and he only had about 4 classes, which was, was an easy year for him. But my older one, the middle one, he has to be in school, and their school is from 9 to close to about 2:33, and they get maybe a couple little breaks here and there. But I walked into his room because you have to go and check, where they're at and what they're doing. And I've seen him playing a game on one screen and the class going on in the other. So, and I'm here. So I can imagine what parents that can't be there, are doing or what they're dealing with. It's really sad. I don't know if they're even learning anything. All they're learning is being able to play their games.
Yeah. And they were, my children, they were doing the online learning up until, May, in the springtime. And that's what I noticed. They're just sitting there and, and doing the game thing. They weren't learning. They're boy. Mine, they want to move around, do things, and it wasn't sticking in their head. And that's why I, decided to do homeschool. But even at that, my family and I, we feel like we're being pushed out of our state. Like I was mentioning to Miss Melinda, we are thinking of moving out of state just so our children could go to school, socialize, play
have
sports,
a normal life.
have a normal life, exactly. And even if I have to transfer, even with the homeschooling, it's going to be kind of a process. So I'm trying to think, maybe I might have them get enrolled and do virtual learning for a little bit, just so it can be a little bit easier if we do decide to move.
Well, it's like we're being punished. Everybody's being punished. Our kids are being punished. Our workers, our businesses, everything's being punished, all for a virus that they have used as a political tool, I think.
Absolutely.
To just punish everybody and keep everybody isolated, keep everybody under control. And if, like a lot of our people, they're getting tired of it. They're walking into the stores with no mask. They're, defying the authorities. And that's what we're seeing with our kids. I believe they're going to be defying the authority as well, which is what we're seeing, and if you're lucky, everything turns out okay. But I don't know.
And that's my fear too for my children, because, my sons, we tell them, don't let this control you. Don't wear the mask, At the same time, there's the argument of, you don't care about your children, or you're hurting other people, you're getting other people sick, and that's the sad part. I don't want my children to grow up in this. I don't. And you have other states where they don't harass you in that way.
No.
They don't. Like, there are places still in this country where, to me, the word is brainwashed, especially here. They'll shame you, but yet I've known them since they were young. They're all mocosas. I knew when they would eat their boogers. They're all dirty, Like I'm saying, it's true.
No, it's true. And this is what I try to, I've shared with Audrey, and every time I go and I debate back and forth with this governor's supporters, I said, look, here's the difference. I said, we're right next door in Texas, and we don't shun people away. We don't see, according to this governor, New Mexico is more inundated and more contaminated with COVID than what we're hearing here in Texas. And Texas is huge. And we're not saying, oh no, don't let those New Mexicans in our state. They're going to make us all die. We don't want them here. We don't want to be. You're not hearing that. We're welcoming with open arms, saying, come visit, let's go to a movie, come dine at the restaurant. This is what freedom is supposed to be in Texas, so you can clearly see the difference that a huge state right next door isn't doing that to the visitors that come from New Mexico. Nevada is doing the same. In Arizona, you can go to Florida. So when you say there are many other states in this country, that makes people like yourself and others that have logic like, well, why is New Mexico? That's what I asked for supporters. So are you telling me that COVID is only hovering only over New Mexico as bad as it is, and it's not going to affect a huge state that's right next door like Texas? Oh, well, you guys are. And I said, it's a lie.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You know, I can contest for that. We welcome all of you.
Right.
You know,
and I have family out in Texas next door, and I've had them come visit, and they literally say it's so sad, and it kind of seems like a third world country. We got lines at the grocery stores, like
it's like we're in China. You know, it's even sad to see all these people with masks on in their cars, walking their dogs, riding their bikes. It's like, are you kidding me? You know, do you understand that the science is not even backing up what health requirements are? And you see, you know, if this thing was so contagious, as I've told many people before, it's like, why do we not have those trash hazmat cans for people to dispose of their masks? Why do we not have different things put in place for something that is so communically spreadable and it's such a major disease? And yet it's okay to go out in public with a lace mask, as long as you have a mask on and you're complying. Over it.
You're right.
It's not protecting, it's not health, it's about control. And that's what we got to remember in New Mexico as New Mexicans. And I am speaking directly to Miss Shal Grisham right now. We're going to stand up to you, lady, because you are not suffering. You are not suffering. Your kids are not suffering. Your family's not suffering. You made over $200 million off the backs of poor people in New Mexico. And we're sick of it. And we're no longer going to be, you know, we're not going to do what you say. You're not our boss. You're not even a leader, because a leader would lead their people to what is good and right and it's helpful for them. And she's not doing that at all.
No, she has no merit, because the minute that she decided that jewelry is more important, I don't know, all herself and other mayors, they are so contradictory to their own mandates. It's disgusting. And I cannot believe that the people of New Mexico quickly forget what they're doing or not doing. They don't care. And
no, they don't care. And Amber, that does come from a long line of years, because, you know, like I've shared many times, we're guilty of it too. We've not been paying attention. We haven't been being involved to really understand the roots. Now, you know, now these past years, we've really been getting to the roots of the problems, and it's almost scary, right, Audrey? It's like the deeper we go into the rabbit hole, the deeper we understand how far down it goes. And how corrupt and bad it really is when you get down there. And so, you know, it really takes a lot of time. And so, you know, we hope that we can really get the messages that we're learning and that we're understanding and passing it on, because that's how it begins. And then, you know, like my daughter and my son-in-law, they're millennials, and they're 27, 28 years old, 29 years old. They actually have watch parties with their friends about certain information. They bring their friends over, they make dinner, and they watch, you know, stuff about this, about politics, to keep them informed in different ways of what's really happening. And to me, I am so proud of them, because you know, that's the way we can keep this going, and the generations, and you know, and hope, you know, and they're teaching my grandkids and their friends. And so doing stuff like that and just sharing is how we're going to evolve, right? And it's how
education is power. Education is power. And right now, we've seen throughout the generations, people have been conditioned. The Democrats have been conditioning people. If you don't vote Democrat, you're not going to get your Social Security. You're not going to get your, you know, social, whatever you're benefiting from, your benefits. The Republicans are going to come in and they're going to take them away, which is not true at all. But those benefits and those programs are what entrap these people in the system, and it makes government big. And that's what we're seeing. You know, the father of their families is no longer the God. It's no longer their actual fathers. It's the government. The government is their daddy right now. So we got to make sure that we are educating our youth, we're educating the people around us, especially we got to start with our family. If we can't reach our family, we've lost it already, because
absolutely,
you know.
And you know, there's wonderful, I'm sorry, there's wonderful programs, and I've gotten from you, Miss Audrey, the Patriot Academy, that one is really good. I just started that one, and I'm really excited about that because I'm learning
I'm glad.
so much from it. You know, aside from doing my own research, and I have a better understanding on what's going on.
Wonderful, and that's good. And that's how we all learn. We learn from each other. I've learned a lot from Audrey. You know,
Exactly.
we go back and forth, and there's stuff that I bring up, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, this is what we do, and so you know, we really hope to get this out to you guys and share it. And you know, before we're done here, we do have some other guests coming on, and it's going to be a new one. But is there anything, any comments, anything that you want to say directly to this governor?
I guess so. Let's see here. Governor Grisham, we know, we see right through you. We see what you're doing. We know you work with China. You have directly positioned our own military, our National Guard. You've removed them from our border. I mean, come on now. And it was in January of 2019. This is a national security concern. Everybody should be looking at this. President Donald J. Trump should really be looking into this. All of this, the well-being of New Mexicans is no concern to you, not at all, not at all. With your many movidas that you have here, you're spending money, taxpayer dollars. Number one on your agenda is marijuana instead of the welfare of our children. And that's in the legislature. You will not acknowledge fully any suicides, depression, how it's affecting not just children, youth, adults as well. And while you sit there with your Virgen de Guadalupe mask and you want to vilify Legacy and Calvary churches who have done more for the communities in this state than you ever have, and I don't mean unemployment or welfare, by the grace of God, you have purposefully kept New Mexicans dependent on the government, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Sincerely, a New Mexican.
Thank you,
That's
sweetheart.
all I have to say to her. It's sad. She's divided us, and I don't know. We know who she's working with.
Absolutely. And more New Mexicans understand the reality of that. So I just want to thank you, sweetheart, for coming on with us and being a part of this with us. And, you know, we're going to get these messages to her. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to get them to her. So God bless you. And we've got some more people coming on. So it's going to be a whole different stream. But share this, and anybody you know, have them come on, send them our way. Okay. So that they can get their voices out there too.
Okay,
all
thank
right.
you, ladies. God bless you all.
God bless
Bye-bye.
you all. We'll be right back, you guys. Audrey and I will be right back for the second half, okay? We got some other people coming on. Take care. God bless.
Bye, Amber.
Bye.